Mason,
Yes, sir.
you want to hear a story?
Sure.
So, last week we got together on Wednesday for the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We started talking about interest rates beforehand, and we had talked previously about the wife and I wanted to buy a house, and we were planning on buying a house in 2024. And you mentioned, hey, interest rates are starting to come down. Like, you should probably get a jump on this, or you can get a jump on this right now, and just jump in. And if you get your pre-qualification, start pursuing a house, all that good stuff, and you'd beat any. There goes the mic again. You'd be able to beat any frenzy with people going in to try and get that lower interest rate and driving the price up, anything like that. So, talked to the wife about it, and we filled out our.
How long was that conversation? Was it like, hey, like, interest rates drop, I think we should buy a house? Cool.
She had gotten off work that day, and it was a stressful day, so it was kind of like, all right, we're not going to talk about it fully, but I'm pretty sure we were in the gym the next day, and I spent probably the first half hour just filling out no, we did have a conversation that night, and she was like, all right, like, let's look into it. I filled out the application to get pre-qualified for the first 30 minutes while we're at the gym, and she's like, hey, are you going to work out? And I'm like, just a second, like, I'm working on this. So, got our pre-qualification Friday, and then went up north with my family, set up some houses that we wanted to go look at, came back Sunday, and looked at 5 houses. Had one that we both really liked, so we submitted an offer and we were under contract. So in less than a week, we went from, hey, you could do this, to we're under contract. I've got earnest money already sent in. We're inspections scheduled, all that good stuff. So we are off to the races and moving right now.
Hell yeah. Are you using Tim?
Yeah. I think it's Fogarty, not Fortunato.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because he's with the new company.
Yeah, I thought he's doing his own thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he'll be coming out Friday to take a look at the house. So,
nice.
Hopefully everything's pretty straightforward. And we don't need anything, but I know someone who could fix it. So,
who? One of your buddies?
No, there's this new general contracting company that's out there.
Yeah, okay. Well, congrats, dude. That's always fun, exciting.
Yeah.
Get you rejuvenated again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And now, got a mortgage to pay for.
Not yet. Well, okay, that's the other thing. So when Mason was kind of explaining this idea, he was like, hey, if you were to make it where your close date is February 1st, you might be able to get your shave off one mortgage payment before your apartment lease ends, so that it would be less of a financial, just you're paying both of them at the same time. So it's like, all right, got that February 1st close of escrow. So
I think we've talked about it before, but that's just a little trick. So whatever month you close in, obviously you don't have a mortgage payment, but then you get to skip a month of mortgage. So your first mortgage payment wouldn't be until after that first skip one. So if you close February 1st, you pretty much get the whole month in there free, plus you get March. You don't have to have a mortgage payment.
Yep.
So your first one wouldn't be until April.
Yeah.
But if you closed January 30th, then February would have been he would have had one. So now, did you figure it out? Do you have any double payments? Or is your last payment the end of February?
I think we'll have a double payment for March and then half a double payment for April.
Well, then plus you'll most likely get your security deposit back too.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
So you only have to pay half a payment, as long as you didn't wreck it.
April, we moved in middle of April, so we might even just have April covered at that point. So we might only have one double payment then.
Yeah, or half a payment. Because essentially you'll have March covered with the security deposit down.
No, we'd cover April, and then we'd just have to double pay. We'd have to pay for March.
Dude, yeah. We did this last time. I was mixing up my months. But yeah, dude, you got it all too. You got concessions, everything. No haggle.
Yeah. It was pretty good. So we'll probably talk more. We'll talk more about the deal when it closes.
Yeah,
once
exactly.
everything's finalized. But
although I did post too. So because new builds can always offer like some heavy discounts.
Yeah.
Because they buy points and stuff. I think they were all the way down to like a $499.
Are you serious?
Yeah, of course that's only on selected homes, so it's probably like, hey, if you close a home before the first of the year, because it's ready. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yep.
But yeah. Yeah, I was getting now before it gets a little too crazy after the holidays.
Yeah, I'm gonna try moving my microphone so you guys might hear some static. Sorry. Yep, that's what I thought. All right, let's mute this real quick. Oh, that's worse. Just a second. What's doing?
I don't know, just cut it out. Nobody wants to see this.
All right, we're back.
Yeah, we are.
It's the real. It's the nitty gritty.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what'd you do this last week? Because I think I saw you Wednesday. Now we're back.
No, not much. Dude, just stop touching stuff. Nothing much. I will be coaching my kids' basketball team this year as a head coach.
Nice.
We do it over at CCV. It's just kind of some of the rules I'm not a big fan of and stuff, but they're just
Like
the
what?
most organized. Just like practices are like half court, and there's like 8 practices going on at once, which is very overstimulating, especially for the young ones.
Yeah.
But it's just the most organized. Like the NYS and stuff has kind of gone downhill a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But yeah, so you used to have to be like a attendee of CCV in order to be a head coach, but I think they're struggling to get people to coach. So they lifted it. And then they're like, oh, hey, remember you wanted to coach? You want to do it? Sure. We're doing that.
Nice.
But yeah, started teaching the kids how to play Uno. And they're not very good losers. You can only play a handful of games. Thaddeus got to witness it because he called me during the end of a game. Damn it, what is that? The youngest one, what is he, 6 now? He did get the short end of the stick. I mean, I have better chances of winning the lottery. But most people know how to play Uno. He was down to his last card. I had like 4 cards left. Didn't have a color or anything. I had to draw a card. And literally the only thing that could have saved me was a draw 4 wild or +2. Drew a +4 wild card. As he was laughing, getting excited to win. Boom. Hell broke loose. Gave him his cards, got it under control. 5 minutes later, happened again. Got to Uno. Drew a +4. Boom. We barely finished the game. So when we got off the phone, because I had to call you afterwards, I went upstairs or whatever to say goodnight, because they were already in bed. And he was still upset. He wouldn't look me in the eye. I'm like, dude, you can't be mad at me. I was like, I can't. He's like, it's not my fault. I was like, it's Uno. Let's blame the game of Uno. And he just looked at me. He was like, no, you shuffled the cards. I was like, sorry, dude. That's life.
Oh my gosh.
And then I tickled him, and he forgot about it, so it was good.
Oh
But yeah, dude, yeah. I mean, it's fun because we're teaching them like games and stuff. But jeez, they are sore losers. They're goodness gracious. If they win, they celebrate. The other kid gets freaking fumed. And you'd think after a while they would catch on, but nope. Back and forth.
That's hilarious.
And unfortunately, it'd be easier if I won more, but I really don't. I really don't. Yeah.
We went up to Flagstaff this weekend. My family decided instead of doing like Christmas presents
Do you
for
guys
everyone,
have a piece of property up there?
Oh. Rented an Airbnb up there in Munns Park.
Because that's like the second time in the last month you've been up there, right? 2 months?
I was up in Flagstaff in November. Yeah.
Yeah.
But different Airbnb.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I went up with the family and we were playing a lot of card games, and there's some trash talk at the table that even I'm a victim of sometimes getting a little hot about things. So I'm like,
What card games do you play?
3 of Kings.
Oh, yeah.
Or 3 to Kings, and then I forget the other one that we played.
You play like Spoons?
We didn't play Spoons, but...
Or what's that game where you have 4 cards, and then you draw a card, and you try to get 4 of a kind, and you pass... Oh, Spoons. And then once you get 4 of a kind...
literally what you just said.
Is it? I didn't.
Yeah, you asked if I had played Spoons, and then you start describing the game.
I just realized that that's the same thing. I was like, oh yeah, that game does have spoons. It's called Spoons. There's a bunch of games we used to play with my dad's side of the family when we were younger.
Yeah.
There's the other one, like not Indian poker. One game where like one person has the card on their head, and they have to guess it or something. I forget how to play that one.
I've never played that game.
No, you go to Minnesota, you learn a lot of card games.
Yeah.
That's fun. What was the weather like? Was it cold?
Yeah, it was colder than down here.
Well, it should be.
No real snow, but I think it was in the 20s at night and then 30s to 40s during the day. So, but for the most part, we hung out inside, and I think we went out for dinner one night, but other than that, like, we made all the food there, so the wife and I were in charge of making breakfast for each day, so we did the whole, like, eggs, bacon, hash browns, where I take the potatoes and I'll shred them and like make them myself, so not like just dumping them out of a bag or anything like that. So
yeah, I think like 4 or 5 years ago, I just, for some reason, I wanted to make like a Christmas breakfast, and I Googled, found some random like casserole thing. It's like eggs, bacon, hash, like literally that's it. But there's a bunch of other things in there.
Yeah.
Dude, it's delicious. Like, we look forward to it every year. I don't know why. It's the only time of the year I ever make it, or anybody makes it.
Yeah.
But it's so good.
Growing up, we would, my dad, like, made it a thing, like, since we were almost as early as I can remember, that he's like, hey, your mom makes food for us all throughout the week, so Sunday morning, we make breakfast together. So it'd be my dad and us kids. We'd do that. So, like, it would go through, we would go through stages too, but my dad would, like, give us a job in the kitchen. So, like, I would be making the bacon, my brother would be making the eggs, or, like, someone would eventually get, like, the hash browns, stuff like that. But I remember when we started doing, like, the breakfast casserole stuff in the morning, and, like, for some of that, sometimes I think my mom started making that, like, the night before, because she could have it prepared and just throw it in the oven.
Yeah, because it takes a while to prepare something.
Yeah. But you get so much food out of it, and you could eat it for, like, the next couple days. So
I forget how long it takes, because it's like, you, like, saute the onions and stuff, and then, like, chop up the bacon in little pieces. It just
no
takes
one needs
forever.
onions in their breakfast.
Gotta have little onions.
Nope.
You wouldn't even know there was onions in there unless somebody told you. Stop.
Yeah, no. You got any plans for Christmas? Any last minute surprises?
No. Although, my dog, poor little Jayla, she's on her way out.
Yep.
Yeah. She started getting these, I don't know, these weird, like lumps. They're like skin tag things. I don't know. Sometimes you'd have to, like, get a biopsy to see if they're cancerous.
Yeah.
I mean, she's not, like, whimpering, like, even if you touch them, like, whimpering, but they're on her top of her neck, so she can't really lift her head up anymore. And she's not eating very well and stuff, but she's on her way out, poor girl.
So that's what you're getting your kids for Christmas?
A couple months ago, or actually probably like 6 months ago, like during the summer, I was like, dude, let's get another dog. Maybe Jayla will get a little pep in her step with the young bull in there. Shot it down quickly. But for the past week, she's been sending me posts from like the rehome thing on Facebook or whatever with dogs. So I finally texted her. I was like, dude, is this just like a thing you're going through? Like, or like, you serious about getting one? She's like, I haven't decided yet. So maybe. Yeah. And definitely probably not for Christmas yet, but.
Yeah. We said that when we get a house, we'd get a dog. So February.
Are you a cat person?
No, I'm allergic to cats. My wife is, and she's like, you could get over your allergy. And I'm like, no. I'm not going.
My sister found.
I'm not going through the stage
No,
of.
my sister found a stray cat when we were growing up. Allergies for like a month, and then they just went away.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Then the bitch got out somehow, came back pregnant. She had a litter.
No.
Yeah, but no plans.
We're gonna go
Christmas
to. I think Thursday we're gonna go to this Christmas lights thing in Scottsdale at the.
Oh yeah, we're going to we're doing some drive-through thing on Friday.
Okay, yeah. I'm trying to. Is it the Princess Hotel that's out in Scottsdale?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's where they're doing all the
They have all
Christmas
the
lights.
stuff.
Yeah.
So. I am stoked though. Kids don't listen to this podcast, but we got them. They wanted a slushy machine.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, we got them one. Like the one where like it's a salt, so it's like made like icy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one where like you can turn any sugary drink into a slushy.
Oh, really?
Oh, like I'm excited for it. You know?
Yeah.
So that'll be nice.
That's awesome.
Plus the youngest one is real into sports, so it's like soccer goal, football, like all that kind of stuff he likes, which is fun.
That's cool. Just got to make sure it's not too much sugar for those kids.
No, they get their fair share of sugar, yeah. Do you have any kind of rant you want to go on?
No, not tonight. I think I'm good.
You in the holiday spirit? Feeling joyful?
Just not anything that comes to mind that I'm super mad about. But
okay, well then I say we just go ahead and get hammered.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sledgehammers in the Office podcast, where we celebrate the heavy hitters on the job site and in the office. Today I'm joined by MasonOxendale. What are we drinking, sir?
Just a little bit of ice water, trying to stay hydrated. I don't drink a lot of water during the winter time, so I have to force myself to do it.
And then, as always, we have the Shamrock Farms chocolate milk, the whole milk, because it is my favorite. And right now, if you go to the Fry's at 83rd and Deer Valley, I don't know when this expires, so go quickly. Use promo code SIDO at checkout. You can get a 2 for $7 after punching in your phone number that works with your Fry's card or just using your Fry's card. So, yeah, go pick up some Shamrock Farms chocolate milk.
Yep, that's Shamrock Farms milk. Pure, great tasting milk in every pour.
I mean, we're going to be so ready for an ad read by the time that we actually have a sponsor. And I hope to God that it is Shamrock Farms before anyone else. All right, let's go over the numbers that we track for the greater Phoenix area on the real estate side. We're looking at inventory, what's closed in the last month, and then we're going to look at some of the building materials, what the prices are on those. So active homes right now, we've got 11,426 homes. Closed, we've got 3,565. And obviously last time that we were on the podcast, I think we recorded on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. So those numbers obviously haven't changed that much. Like Mason talked about last time, in December, this is going to be usually the slowest month of the year. I think he also mentioned that this is going to be the month where it's the lowest price per square foot on a house. But for the year, usually. That's typically. It's not gospel, but you get it. 2x4s, 318, holding steady. Plywood, 1725. That's a big drop from last week. We were in the 20s. Half-inch, 10-foot copper pipe, 2642. That's been holding steady. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what we're looking at. There are homes available. A lot of them, like even how we talked about the one that I'm trying to purchase right now, it was sitting there for a little over a month. If you're someone who's looking to kind of get moving on that as the interest rates are starting to move around and take advantage of things before there's a lot more competition, you absolutely can. You might be able to negotiate a little bit more and then go from there. All right.
So, yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about what we got cooking?
We've been cooking this thing for a while. You guys get a second story for the podcast. We talked about this a little bit before in a previous episode. We were here to record one of our regular weekly shows, and I had a phone call scheduled with the owner of the window and door company I used to work with, and I wanted to ask him about 3 year, Actually, I need to back up further. Sorry. I had a conversation with the owner of the window and door company that I used to work for, and he was asking, hey, when are you planning on going out on your own? I told him my kind of estimated timeline, and he gave me the kick in the ass to say, hey, that is way too long that you're waiting. He's like, you need to do a 3-year projection to understand when it is that you can actually go out on your own and be more aggressive with pursuing that. So I walked away going, like, we had ended up having a 2-hour conversation. I walked away going, okay, yeah, absolutely. Like, that's what I need to do. I was super excited about it. But then as I'm leaving, I'm like, how do I make a 3-year projection? So follow up with him a couple weeks later. We have the phone call. We're here at the office. And he spent an hour kind of laying out, hey, here's how this works. And I feel like once he started to lay it out, things started clicking in my brain because afterward, it doesn't seem all that complicated. Mm-hmm. But for me, it was just kind of putting the dots together in my mind. The example that I gave him as well was I used to be really into trying to pursue like weightlifting PRs, and then I'd always say like, I'm going to put 40 pounds on my squat this year, 50 pounds on my bench this year, whatever it was, and then it wouldn't happen. And then it's like, all right, so when I had projected out several years, I'm like, how am I going to catch up? And now I've got to be doing like 65 pounds the next year or whatever. And it's like, that's not how the projection works. The way that we've approached the projection has been, you're going to try and be as honest with yourself as you can about these numbers when you're writing out all the expenses that you're going to have, and then you're going to have growth metrics along the way. So it doesn't need to be a perfect 1 year, this is what the next number should look like, but it should almost be markers for growth. So the way that we're going to dive more into this is going to be where we're spending the bulk of the podcast. But the way that I've approached this has been when I'm going to be going into business for myself, what numbers do I need to be hitting to make a certain salary, cover the bills for the all the expenses for the business. But then my next growth marker is, okay, what does it look like as we have more revenue coming into the company, trying to increase spend on marketing, advertising, things like that. And then the third one was going to be the growth for when I'm bringing on an employee. So when I'm able to look at the 3-year projection, and if I have a bunch of jobs that I'm taking in a lot of money, I can start to understand very quickly where am I at on this chart if I've plotted everything correctly. And you can make the adjustments along the way. But if in the first year, all of a sudden I sold a ton of jobs, executing well, and customers are still knocking on the door so that I've got so much money coming in that I'm able to almost jump ahead to the second growth stage, which we're kind of just calling it by year. So it'd be like year 3. Then it's like we just skip year 2. But if we're in year 1 or year 2 and just repeating the numbers, and we're not hitting the numbers where it's like we can bring on an employee, then we need to make the evaluation as far as that might become a year 4, year 5 thing. But the projection, essentially, the way we're treating it, allows for you to be able to look at how much money's coming in, how much money does the business consume, and go from there. Anything to add to that before we kind of talk about what's in the projections?
No, you nailed it. I figure we'd just chime in once we start going over the projections.
Cool. All right, so we then spent a couple weeks trying to lay out what do the projections look like for each of our companies. And we have our projections linked in the episode description for both of these. So if you want to check these out and follow along with what we're saying, we're going to be referencing that a lot. If you want to even just take a look at it afterward or before, just so that you have an idea of what we're looking at, go ahead and do that. But we're going to break it into 3 columns. We're going to have a yearly, a monthly, and weekly. This is where we're going to say, in a year, how much money do we think we can realistically take in? So if you're someone who, like me, where I'm going to be venturing out on my own, how much do I think I can sell in a year? What are the conversations that I've had with people in terms of jobs that would indicate how much money's coming in? For Mason, he's been doing this for several years, so he understands a little bit more of the amount of money that has been coming in the last couple of years, so he can gauge it based off of that. we're going to take that yearly number. It's going to get broken down, just divide it by 12. That's going to be your monthly number. And then you have your weekly number. That's going to be the revenue projection. Then we're going to break this out by larger categories. We're going to have a payroll category. We're going to have a vehicle category, insurance and miscellaneous expenses. I'm working off of my sheet right now. Mason's going to go through his in a second. And essentially it's going to be on payroll. That's how much you're looking to make as a salary for the year. And for that, that we're working off of probably like 55 grand is what I plugged in for year one. So we've got the payroll side of there's $55,000, but there's also payroll taxes. Then we've got vehicles. I own my vehicles, but if someone has a vehicle payment for the ones they're using, you can put that in there. And then you have your gas and the maintenance on the cars. We have same thing all the way down the spreadsheet. We have a yearly, monthly, and weekly number so that we can understand if I'm spending $100 a week on gas, that's going to be $5,200 a year. It's $5,200 a year in gas right there. So then we have insurance for mine. That's going to be general liability, auto, workman's comp, and then an umbrella policy. So if you have any other insurances or different insurances, that's where you plug it in. And then you have your miscellaneous expenses. This would be like a CPA. If for me, it's like I have tangible tools as far as like hammers, pry bars, saws, just all kinds of equipment like that. We have, if there's, I'm calling them like assets or larger purchases. So it might be like a trailer. It might be another vehicle. It might be just something of that nature. We've got marketing, legal, apparel, subscriptions. That could be something where I'm using a program to track all my jobs and job flow. Healthcare, cell phones, office supplies. So some of these are not necessarily going to be applicable to someone when they're starting, but you put them in there so that you understand as you're growing in the business, these are areas you're most likely going to be expanding as well. So we fill out all of these categories, and then at the top, we're going to have the yearly revenue, subtract the payroll, the total vehicle expenses, total insurance, total miscellaneous expenses, and that should leave you with the net profit for the year. That should also be able to show you how much net profit you're taking in a month, and then also how much you're taking in a week. So going from there, you have your growth metrics that should be going off of that, growing off of that. So that's going to be, like we said, what does it look like when we go to hire an employee, things of that nature. I know then that's going to add more to my insurance, more to the salaries that need to be paid, but it's all built in so you can see what do I need to hit to get there. Am I charging appropriately? Am I executing on the jobs appropriately? Am I on time to be able to take on more jobs? All that good stuff. So that's the way that I've built out more of the construction side. You guys can, like I said, take a look at what we've built in the description. And then, Mason, what do you have for yours in terms of the projection that you've got set up?
Yeah. Well, quick note, you're going to have to change. I noticed some of the stuff you pulled over from mine the numbers don't match.
For which one?
Like it says my yearly Verizon wireless bill is of $1, which is not true.
We're jumping ahead. We just got to talk about what yours are right now.
Yeah. So let me pull up mine. Yep. So mine, year to 100K. So mine are a little different. I have, of course, my payroll. And then sometimes everybody labels, calls these different. So you want to label them kind of how you see fit, how you see your business. But I have my payroll, I have my operations to run the business, I have my lead generation, and then business expenses. Now with realtors, it's a little different. Depends on how you're set up. I mean, I am not a tax advisor or anything, so this is just hearsay from how I have mine set up. So this is not what legal advice.
This is two guys showing you what they're doing. If you want to do it, we're setting you up to kind of copy and paste pretty easily, but that's it. This is not financial advice.
Yep. So when I first started, you're a realtor, you're a single proprietor. So basically all your income that you get minus your business expenses or whatever, then like that's what you get taxed on, and then it loops into your personal income. So I'm set up where I have a PLLC, so I can actually have a payroll. I think I can have up to like 2 employees. So my payroll is myself. So I pay myself, which there's some tax advantages, I have to make a reasonable salary. Any extra money my business makes, I don't have to pay the taxes on. That's essentially kind of how it goes. So I have my own payroll, so what I pay myself every month. You didn't go over like what the numbers were, did you?
Mm-mm.
Yep. And then my operations are, I have it labeled as like what fees, registrations, and stuff that I need to hold my license in order to operate as a realtor in Arizona. So you have your lockbox, armless, MLS stuff, so things of that nature, which are usually once a year payments. So anything you need to operate as a realtor.
But to that point as well, like even on some of that if it's the website or I'm drawing a blank on anything that would just be more yearly off the top of my head, but it's those things add up and you can start losing a good amount of what you think is profit at the end of the year if you're not calculating that in. So it's a really good idea, especially for some of these. It's like $500, $400, $200, $600. Like that's
exactly
almost $2,000 right there. It's like, let's just account for everything.
Mm-hmm. And on the sample sheet that you'll see, it's just, they're just there because they're one-time payments. But like on my side, on what I keep track of things, I try to keep track of when they're due. Mm-hmm. So like a lot of these are due on the first of the year. So I know that January, I've got a big month where I have to pay a lot of my stuff. So keeping track of the dates and stuff is also a really good thing.
Yep.
So then payroll, operations, and then if you pay for any kind of lead generation. So I work a lot. So one of the perks of being on a real estate team is that you do get their lead generation stuff. So I don't necessarily, I pay for it out of the splits. Luckily, my splits are very low compared to a lot of other teams. So I'm blessed there. So I don't have a lot of, that's where your bulk of your money is going to be, is if you're paying for lead generation. I also do a lot of sphere. So I work people that I already know, so I don't have to go and talk out to strangers. I don't like making cold calls. So I'm trying to build my business around that. So I have one lead generation that I pay for monthly. And you're like, oh, that's what he was saying. You want to keep track of weekly, yearly, and monthly because it's like, oh, it's only this much. It's only $200 a month. And then you look it up. It's like, oh, that's almost $4,000 right there. Also, when you're tracking your stats, it's a good way. You'd be like, okay, I spent this much money on this lead generation. How many leads did I get? How much money did I make off of it? So is it worth it? Mm-hmm. And then the final one, which is a lot longer list, is your business expenses. So like I have a website. I have so much crap on here. I have to pay for extra iCloud, Google storage. When you open a business banking account, there's usually some type of, it's like $8 a month fee to run it. Little other marketing things, signatures, Canva, just different things that just add up. $3 a month, $2 a month, 4, 8, 10, 15. So if you don't keep track of it, it adds up a lot. And when you're in the state of real estate where you get big chunks, you get big checks, you might get, it rarely works out that you get, at least one check every single month. A lot of times it's like, oh, maybe no check this month, but then I have 5 next month. So, you want to be able to keep track of what your monthly and weekly expenses are because you want to make sure you have enough money in the pipeline, especially as you're paying yourself. So mine is a little bit less variables than the contractor one too. And also too, because I'm a sole business, I don't have employees and stuff like that. So that's when yours is definitely going to be important to track every little thing as you get more and more employees. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then to that point, as far as the construction side is going to start to build, if someone's going to have a construction company that has vehicles that they're offering, if you have apparel that you want, like uniforms that you want your guys to be wearing, it's as you add more people, you're just starting to multiply that number quite a bit.
Yeah, and like you said too, like as you think about it, it gets overwhelming. I think that's why a lot of people don't do it. Mm-hmm. But if you sit down and just type it out or write it out and categorize it,
yep,
and you just always have it there, even though it's a 0. Like, yep, it's coming. It's like a sense of relief almost.
Yeah. It's it helps with that growth metric as far as like for me, when I talked to the owner of the window and door company and he was telling me like, hey, like do you know how much money do you need to be able to go out on your own? And it's like, I'm sitting there going, I don't know. So if I hadn't had the conversation with him, if I hadn't built this out and I said at some point, hey, I'm going out on my own, I'm a new general contractor to the area, I'm just going off of a hunch that I think I'm bringing in enough money rather than understanding how much money is coming in, does that cover everything, and we could break it down monthly, weekly, and then that all adds up to the yearly at the end. But it gives you so much more clarity on what's going on, especially for the growth too, that it's not just a hunch once again, which I think I could bring someone on. It's like, no, like let's clearly define what that looks like. And then it's, if also you're in a huge growth phase, it's like you're not someone who's like, man, I just can't afford it. I can't afford it. It's like, no, we can look at the numbers and understand that you can. I think on the real estate side as well, the part that if you guys go back and listen to an episode from, I think it was almost a year ago, where we talked to you about what you were looking to do inside of real estate, this helps you also, people inside of real estate, if they're looking to do something similar with building out a team or stuff like that, like what expenses start to come into play with all that, because you're looking at now more lead generation sources. You might be looking at overhead for a building. You might be looking at over all those things. So it's, Mason would be able to clearly understand, hey, I've got enough revenue coming in consistently to cover all those bills.
Exactly.
Cool. So at the end of the day, like one of the phrases that I like to kind of just say is business is business. So in as much as there are differences between the two of our projections with some of the specifics that we're putting in there, a lot of it is the same. And the process is very much the same to understand how much is coming in, how much is going out, how do we need to allocate our money appropriately, and when can we start to bring on more overhead, whether that's people, physical things, or whatnot.
Yep. And then if you do end up, if you follow us along through the journey this year, especially probably towards the end of it, you'll be able to see, kind of the difference and the fluctuations between, as far as what I spend normally on a monthly basis, and then how the construction side, how it's going to vary depending on the job and all that kind of other stuff.
Yep. Which he's kind of teasing something real quick, but before we get there, we want to mention. So we've got the links in the description for the stuff that we're working off of, so you can look at our actual projections that we've built for ourselves. On the other thing that we've put down there is going to be essentially the skeleton to build out a projection. You'll see there's a construction baseline projection that you'll be able to build out, and then there's a growth projection, which is essentially increasing the numbers for revenue, expenses, all those things. Functions should be already built in, that we're going to start with. You input all your yearly numbers, and the monthly will automatically be functioned out to where it'll just divide everything by 12. The weekly will divide everything by 52 to make it hopefully easier for anyone who wants to even just copy and paste what we built out and then go use it themselves. So feel free to take that, use that. We'd love to know. Like, if you do, drop us a comment, shoot us a DM, all that good stuff. Now, this is going to be our last show until the new year. And we're super excited to talk about what's coming in the new year. But in the spirit of Christmas, in the spirit of giving, we have
100,000. Oh.
We have a project, it's going to be kind of a project for us.
Yeah, I mean, like I think you've mentioned it in a lot of podcasts, like the other podcasts, like we're just two Joe Schmoes that own a business, and like we're not tycoons. We don't have this crazy. We're not 10xing crap, like not yet. But I'm saying, like, this is like we want you to see a realistic way of how businesses are ran and grow, hopefully.
So we have something that we're calling the road to 100,000. So in a lot of this, we're very much, I'd say, you can let me know if you agree or not. I'm an active participant in kind of running a business blindly, where people will call me, say they want something done. I can give them a price. I go complete it. And then it's like, cool. But sometimes tracking those numbers, which I've got to set aside time to figure out all the numbers for my tax purposes, but is something that goes on the back burner, or I just didn't even know. I had a conversation with a friend tonight about, hey, how much money did you make this year with Saito? And I was giving him like, I think it's about this much. And it ended up being, I had done 150% of that in 7 months this year, and I didn't realize it until I looked at the numbers, and I was like, holy crap. So the road to 100,000, what is it? This is essentially literally just going to be tracking how much money comes into a business, and the businesses that we're going to be tracking are ours. So if someone else is starting and wants to do this, then you absolutely can. If you're someone who's farther along in business, make it a bigger number. But we've built out a spreadsheet for ourselves that has each month January to December, and everything should be plugged in with functions, but you'll be able to just input each all the money that you're making, and it's going to start adding it all for you. So you'll be able to see each month how much money was taken in, and the goal is that we're trying to say in a year, can we have taken in gross $100,000? So
what is gross?
Gross is going to be the total of all the money that you've taken in. Net would be the profit, so after you've paid all your expenses, how much money you're left over with. People talk about gross being a vanity number, because if I make $100,000 in a year but spend $110,000 in a year, I've made less than the guy who took in $20,000 in a year and only spent $5,000 a year. Mm-hmm. So there is a part of it where it's kind of a vanity number, but I think, at least for me, and I think a lot of people, $100,000, the idea of being able to make that much money, just to be able to say like, hey, I brought in that much money, is a big deal. And it's almost like that's the first hurdle. So that's what we're trying to say.
Yep. So like for me, because I'm on a team and there's commission splits, also too, depending on what brokerages you're with, you do sometimes have to pay your brokerage, that kind of stuff. So it's essentially, I'm going to be inputting what that commission payment is before any splits are taken out, any brokerage fees are taken out and stuff like that. So like that's how much is I brought in. Now, I say that because I'm also wanted to ask you a question too. So when you were going to track your numbers with, you did a job. Mm-hmm. Like the total job is $100,000. Like you're not going to put $100,000 in there.
Absolutely, I am.
Are you?
Yeah. If I get a $100,000 job, I'm going to be super pumped.
Okay. Let's put the number down. $20,000 job.
Yeah.
And let's say like are you going to include only labor? But let's say like they want like 15,000 of it is just in like the materials that they need to build something. No,
I'm going to make it where for this this is baby steps, right? Okay. So I want it to be gross as far as I'm pretty damn sure that I did not take in $100,000 last year. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's to be able to say, hey, I was able to bring $100,000 into the company. For me, like I'd be very proud of that. So that's why I'm starting there. Even if it happens that, okay, I've got a couple big jobs that happen and I knock it out of the park a little quicker than I thought, fantastic. But I just want to be able to say, hey, let's get the momentum going. Let's get this train moving down the tracks. Because I also know, like, on the flip side of that coin, I know that you've had a couple years that you've broke 6 figures on there. So it's like, okay, cool. Like, there's several ways where we know, like, all right, we might be setting the bar a little low, but we're setting the bar to say that's step one. This is not the standard that we're holding for ourselves. This is step one. And then step 2, 3, 4, we'll announce as we kind of get each step of the way. But,
and I would anticipate that year, like when he was talking about the projections, you might skip a year, skip a step or whatever. I have most likely that that gross number is going to be significantly higher year 2.
Well, year 2 is actually net.
Oh,
but let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, but I also, like when people downplay gross, it is a great number to track, because what you want to do when you run your business is like, how much money is bringing in, how much am I spending?
Yep.
So how much money is, in your case, is the business making? Not, and at that point, that's not even how much money you're bringing home.
Yep.
How much is the business making?
Yep.
So you can see, like at the end, oh, hey, I did 50 jobs this year, and let's just say, okay, 50 jobs, you'd make more than $100,000. But let's say 20 jobs, your business made $100,000, but then you'd be able to figure out, okay, out of all those different jobs, like this bath job, this little job, or this kitchen job.
Yep. Where's the greatest margin that you make off each job?
Exactly. So you might have spent for the kitchen, you might have spent $90,000 on just materials and stuff.
Right.
So that's a 10% margin
Right.
versus another one, and then you'd be able to track more on like what jobs get more profit,
Right.
and then versus what jobs you need to charge a little more for, or
Yep.
maybe even be able to get away with charging a little bit less.
Absolutely. And that is exactly right, because we'll kind of just give away. Step 2 is going to be the road to $100,000 net. But like Mason just laid out, we're going to do $100,000 gross. One, get the momentum going, but also create a data point for ourselves. So like we said, we're going to try and be very radically transparent with what we're doing. But yeah, that's where it is. So,
And you know what? We're probably gonna be in year 2 by the 6-month mark. So you might get 2 years in one.
all right. So the idea of road to 100,000, though, we can create a spreadsheet. That's a lot of fun. The one problem with that is that we are not always in control of how much money comes in. I remember when I was doing real estate that the thing that was hard mentally was just thinking, I'm not in control of when the money comes in. When you're a W-2 employee, you're in control as much as I do my job, I show up on time, I'm getting a check on Friday or every 2 weeks or whatever. When you're running a business, the stuff that you can control is the work that you do. So in the road to $100,000 spreadsheet that we've got in the description, there's going to be a tab in there called Action Steps. This is going to be very similar. It's going to have January to December on there. And you're going to have what is on the lower part called the standard. And that's going to have calls, emails, texts, social media posts, and meetings. And above it, we're going to be tracking how many did you complete. So if you're looking at the spreadsheet, if I look at the standard for the month, if I'm setting my standard, and this is just an arbitrary number right now, that I'm going to do 100 calls to leads. This is 100 reach out calls. This is not 100 calls to Mason. Hey, I know I'm going to be coming over for your project, so I wanted to ask you a question about this, but I don't ask him the full question. I'm going to pick it up again. Now I've got 2 calls. No, if he's a customer, it doesn't count. This is 100 reach outs in a month by call, 50 reach outs by email, 50 reach outs by text, 4 social media posts. And these are just arbitrary numbers that we're throwing out there right now. We're going to set a standard for ourselves. They're going to look different. One, because right now Mason is full-time inside of real estate. I'm only part-time with Sido right now. But the idea would be is that we're going to be able to track how many calls, emails, texts, social media posts did we make, and how many did we say that we're going to do, how many did we actually make, hold ourselves accountable, hold each other accountable, and then as we go through each month, if we start noticing, it seems that I get the best results from emailing people. Maybe we up the email number and lower the call number. Or we start playing with all those numbers, but the idea is that we want to track how many meetings and how much conversion is happening off of all these metrics. Because at the end of the day, like we said, the road to 100,000, it's a fun idea, it's a cool thing, we're stupid pumped for it, but at the end of the day, we are not in control of that. We're in control of the action steps that we take, and so that's what we're really going to be putting a lot of emphasis on for this year, as far as what did you do and what results have you seen.
Exactly. Yep. Because action steps, these are all inputs that you can control. You can control your calls, your emails, your texts. We put social media in here because that's one of the best marketing tools out there. Whether you're doing the paid, the boost your post kind of stuff. Like you don't necessarily need to do that. I mean,
I've had great returns just off of posting things, even sometimes things that I did not think were going to be received by the audience.
It's free.
And it's free.
It's free. You do it. You can use it as as boasting what you've done. 1,000 different ways you can go. But these are all action items that you can control and you can do without so you got no one else to blame but yourself.
Yep.
And then the last one I think is important too, because meetings, like taking a listing or meeting with a potential client, that number is going to be crucial, because the more meetings you have, the more potential you have.
Yep.
To get more money, right?
And as we start to take those meetings, if we start to see the meetings number going up, but it's not the meetings we want, then that's when we start trying to say, all right, do we need to adjust how we're doing the calls, emails, text, social media posts, any of that? But this is just get traction.
Yeah,
Road to 100,000, get traction.
What are you doing in those meetings?
Exactly.
That's the thing. Like, for me, like, I'll take as many listings as possible. If they don't go right, then it's because you're not doing something.
Right.
You know?
And then at that point, we have a different problem that we have to solve. But since we don't have that problem, we're not going to worry about it until we get there.
Somebody calls you and says they got a $5 million project and they want you to come take a look at it. Are you going to say no?
I'm going to show up.
Fuck no. You're going to show up. You're going to take that meeting even you know that this is not a meeting that I should probably be taking right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking more of the meetings where it's like, hey, I've got a $100 project for you to do. It's like, that's not really what we do. But that's where you just filter your message and all that stuff. But we're getting too far ahead of ourselves. So,
it's kind of like me with rental homes.
Yeah, exactly.
But still do it. Lead to more.
Yeah.
Because what does it say? That person that needed 2 doors fixed tells their neighbor that needs a full kitchen remodel. So that $100 job, especially when you got nothing going on, it might work wonders for you.
Yep. And then you guys can check out this spreadsheet in the description, copy it, paste it, use it as we go into 2024. You'll have about probably 10 days left by the time we get this posted. So plenty of time to get this rolling.
So you'll be able to see how a business can grow, what we're doing. Worst case scenario, you see what we're doing. We're awful at it. It doesn't work. Then now you know.
Don't do that.
Look at the numbers and be like, this is not the direction to go. Which way do we go opposite from?
Yep. We're going to just try and be radically transparent with what we're doing.
Because we never had anybody just... I mean, I've been in the business for 4 or 5 years. I probably should have been doing this for a long time. Luckily, I can go back and track a lot of it. But
yeah.
Plus, hopefully, you, the people, hold us accountable.
Yep.
So we don't look like fools on YouTube.
And Spotify. Gosh, don't forget about our loyal listeners on Spotify.
I don't use Spotify anyways. I do iTunes.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate those people too. All right. We're going to be kicking this off, obviously, 2024. So we talked about it last couple shows, but the format for the podcast is going to be changing. We're going to be looking to do 2 podcasts a month, one with a guest, one with me, Mason, and then a third person will be added to our group, Mr. Alex Reiki. He was on the podcast earlier this year. He's starting his own business, so he's going to jump in with us to talk about what he's doing. He's going to be doing the same thing, road to 100,000, tracking his action steps, all that good stuff. So you'll be able to see 3 essentially young entrepreneurs, what they're doing, and go from there.
Thanks for calling me young.
Yeah. You're not old.
Exactly, too. Yeah. And we're going a little direction. We're going a little more business with a sprinkle of real estate and construction.
Yeah. And then...
Because who doesn't love real estate and construction? So.
Alex is doing business intelligence, which is going to be a lot more data analytics. So
those are for our smarter listeners.
That is, if we have any.
Just saying, yeah, smarter than... the keyboard typer and a hammer thrower.
Yep. We're super excited about 2024. Thank you guys for anyone who is listening to the podcast. We do track the numbers, and I'm excited to see where it goes. It's been several years that I've been working on this kind of like sporadically. Last year with Mason, we've been doing it consistently, and like looking back at the last year, like it was a mess, and we're trying to clean it up and make it something that we feel like is actually worthwhile.
We had some good intros though. They were funny.
I will say we had fun, and we're gonna keep having fun in 2024.
Yeah, and didn't you say too that if we hit our road to 100K that you're gonna get drunk, take shots on the podcast?
I did not.
We'll have to rewind the tape on that.
That was last year's bet. Maybe we can set a new one for next year. But, yeah, thank you guys. We appreciate it. We look forward to having you guys follow along with what we're doing and where we're going. That's all I got.
That's all I want to get.
All right. Until next time.
Hope your hammer stays accurate.
Your Wi-Fi fast.
And you work blessed.
See you, everybody.